There's nothing more frustrating than standing over a compost pile that looks the same week after week, refusing to break down no matter how much you turn it or how much kitchen waste you toss in. I've been there. My pile went from a thriving, steaming mix of scraps and garden clippings to a lifeless heap that seemed stuck in time. For a moment I even wondered if composting just wasn't for me. But the truth is, when a compost pile stalls, it's never beyond repair. And when I found the real fix, the transformation was almost instant. A healthy compost pile is like a living organism. It needs balance. The microorganisms driving decomposition thrive on the right ratio of carbon-rich browns and nitrogen-rich greens, plus steady moisture and airflow. When one of these elements gets thrown off balance, the microbes slow down and the pile sits in limbo. In my case, I thought I had enough variety, but the pile was actually starved of the right fuel. Instead of an active system, I had built what was essentially a storage bin for food scraps. Most gardeners have heard about the green to brown ratio, but knowing it and applying it are two different things. My pile was heavy on greens, fruit peels, vegetable scraps, fresh grass clippings, but sorely lacking browns like dried leaves, shredded cardboard, or straw. Without enough carbon to balance all that nitrogen, the microbes were overwhelmed. It was like feeding them a diet of sugar without protein or fiber. They simply couldn't sustain the process. The fix was straightforward. I layered in 2 full wheelbarrows of shredded dry leaves and torn up cardboard, mixing them evenly with the existing greens. Instantly, the pile looked different, fluffier, more aerated and better structured. That was step 1 in reviving the process. Another hidden culprit was water. A compost pile needs to stay as damp as a wrung-out sponge. Mine was bone dry at the center. Every time I dug in, I found brittle scraps that had no chance of decomposing. The lack of moisture was like pulling the plug on the entire ecosystem. The solution was precise. I mixed 1 gallon of water with 2 tablespoons of unsulfured molasses and sprinkled it evenly as I turned the pile. The molasses wasn't just for moisture, it acted as a microbial booster, providing a quick source of energy to jumpstart activity. Within days, the pile warmed up again, and the earthy smell of decomposition returned. Even with greens, browns, and water balanced, a compost pile can suffocate if it's too compact. When oxygen is scarce, anaerobic bacteria take over, leaving the pile smelly and stagnant. That's exactly what I had. A pile so tightly packed that it was essentially choking itself. The fix here was simple but crucial. I drove a garden fork deep into the heap, lifting and turning the material to create air pockets. I also added a layer of coarse material, corn stalks and chunky sticks, at the base of the pile to improve drainage and airflow from the bottom up. From then on, I made a habit of turning the pile at least once a week, ensuring oxygen stayed in play. Here's where the turnaround really happened. While balancing greens, browns, and moisture laid the foundation, what pushed my compost into overdrive was an activator. I mixed 1 cup of fresh grass clippings, 1 cup of used coffee grounds, and 1 gallon of warm water into a slurry, then poured it directly over the pile. This homemade activator delivered nitrogen, carbon, and microbial life in one shot, effectively supercharging the system. Within 48 hours, I could feel the heat radiating from the pile. Decomposition was back on track, stronger than ever. What had been a cold, lifeless heap now smelled sweet and earthy, with steam rising when I turned it. That was the moment I knew the problem wasn't permanent, it just needed the right nudge. One of the biggest lessons I learned was that compost is forgiving if you know how to listen to it. A stalled pile isn't a failure, it's a signal. Too wet, too dry, too compact or unbalanced. The pile always tells you what's wrong. And once you adjust, the response is almost immediate. For me, it wasn't about buying expensive commercial activators or giving up. It was about returning to the basics: balance, moisture, airflow, and a little microbial kickstart. With those in place, composting shifted from frustration to one of the most rewarding parts of my gardening journey. Healthy compost isn't just about recycling waste, it's about building living soil. When your pile is active, you're creating a rich amendment that fuels stronger plants, healthier roots, and higher yields. Every adjustment you make to bring your compost back to life is an investment in the future of your garden. So if your pile looks like mine did, stuck, stale, and disappointing, don't give up. With the right balance of browns and greens, steady moisture, proper aeration, and a natural activator, You'll not only fix the problem but also come out with better compost than you imagined. The day I saw steam rise again from my pile, I realized that composting isn't about perfection. It's about responsiveness. Nature gives us all the clues, and once we pay attention, the fixes are surprisingly simple. My stalled pile taught me that even when decomposition seems to stop, life is always waiting to return with the right care. If this guide helped you understand your compost better, make sure to subscribe to Crop Corner and share this with a fellow gardener who might be struggling with their own pile. Together we can keep building soil, growing healthier crops, and turning every challenge in the garden into a learning victory.